And then the fourth is the structure and organization of self appears to be more rigid under threats and to relax its boundaries when completely free of threat. Now this one is how the instructors create the environment so that there is no threat. And they're learning, the children are learning, that even when someone's trying to knock them off something, they have to be calm and relaxed in the process of learning how their bodies can move in space and defend themselves in the karate. So it's new information that might threaten a student's concept of him or herself, but the less vulnerable the student feels, the more likely he or she will be able to open up to the learning process. So even though they're learning something about a martial art of fighting, they're also learning about the process of opening the door to learning, and that they can do something. The fifth hypothesis is the educational situation which most effectively promotes significant learning is one in which the threat to the self of the learner is reduced to a minimum, and there's a differentiated perception of the field is facilitated. So what that means is the instructor should be open to learning from the students and also working to connect the students to the subject matter. Frequent interaction with the students will help achieve this goal. The instructor's acceptance of being a mentor who guides rather than an expert who tells is instrumental to student-centered, non-threatening, and unforced learning.
That is so excellent that you said that. And we'll be discussing our findings. And in our findings, they actually talked about that. I'll just jump there for a second here. But they talked about how the instructors learn from the students.
Exactly.
And that in other programs that there's a lot of verbal instruction. But in e-karate, there's visual cues, there's hand over hand, there's a lot of other things that they can learn from. And it's not just that verbal cue that children hear. So that was a very nice connection. There's a quote that you have here. I really like it. Can you read it for us? Can you tell us about it?
Well, Rogers continued with this, and he wanted to talk about how a person develops into a fully functioning person. So one of the goals of e-karate is to include people in community so they can be fully functioning. And so he describes the good life. This process of the good life is not, I am convinced, a life for the faint-hearted. It involves the stretching and growing of becoming more and more of one's potentialities. It involves the courage to be. It means launching oneself fully into the stream of life. And that was in 1961.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, I'm going to be talking now about the results that we found from our qualitative case study. As I mentioned, the methodology that we used in this study was a qualitative study, and it was a case study because we wanted to look at, just to interview two of the instructors, the senseis, of the e-karate program, and who also founded the program. And to do that, as you know, case studies give you that in-depth qualitative voice of a subject or participant. So these were some of the themes that Lori and I, after we transcribed, the data was transcribed, we audio taped the conversations, and then we transcribed the data, and then we coded it, and then we work together to find the interreliability for themes. And this is what we came up with. We have 7 of them, actually. And the first one, which is really great, is called the tree metaphor. And this is basically that the e-karate framework is not a hybrid, but rather shares the common basics shared by most styles of karate, and then allows students to branch out to specific styles of one of the instructors. The styles that we have, or that they use, are Wado Ryo, Kyokushin, Kokondo, Judo, and Taekwondo. It is a process which incorporates trial and error and developmental levels, respect, fostering education of learning and community.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to use one of the quote from one of the senseis because it really captures it. He says, "You can think of a kind of tree as it gets higher and higher. You've got different limbs branching off from the base of the tree. If you think of a hybrid, that's sort of the picture you can think of in your mind, where you might learn different techniques, different ones that I was trained in Kokyoshin, which is full contact sparring fighting. I might be able to teach the advanced students some of these techniques. The other sensei style is Wada Ryo, might be able to teach advanced students techniques from his training. So that might be specific to each in the short term who has reached a black belt and is competent to teach." So you can see here that they have a common base, which is the common elements of the katas that are formed in most karate styles. But as the tree grows up and the branches out, the students are able to select a style which they will be able to do, which kind of goes along with their development and their personality.
That's right. So the base of the tree holds elements and principles of karate. So the first two principles were respect and self-control. And in this way, they honor the senseis with the highest black belt in his style of karate. But respect really was given in a communal way, not just a hierarchical way. And so a second quote talks about this.
Yeah, it says, "I think it's because of the entire philosophy that we're working to teach kids with different learning styles that it's critical as an instructor that we help one another in order to teach the kids. We're going to have to help each other, and in order to do that, it's counterproductive to have the mindset that your style is superior. The driving force behind that is that there has to be a collaborative expectation that if you're going to be an instructor for teaching e-karate, that you're going to have to collaborate as well as learn as you teach." So the third theme was that this is a process, that it's not just something that happens, it's not just a learning, but it's the process. And what we looked at when we examined the theory, when we examined the data, was that the senseis themselves had to go through a process themselves in order to be able to collaborate to form this base. And one sensei in particular had to go and talk to his own sensei about this and gain permission to do this. And what was amazing was that when his sensei was able to see the wonder and the phenomena happening for those kids, then he was able to agree and let the sensei go. And he was able to begin collaborating with the other one. Can you talk about the fourth theme?
Sure. The fourth theme is self-control, which is one of the basic parts of the e-karate program. And every time they talked about it, they talked about fostering education, and it just seemed that there was this way in which it was modeled by the teachers, and then they actually had the children model the kata for the whole entire class. So that leadership was also fostered in this. So the community value of leadership was actually learned inside this place. And they talked about how one child who was autistic learned to use that experience outside in his school. He started making friends and teaching others karate.
Excellent. And the fifth theme that we found was the driving force behind the e-karate was respect, and the program was the children itself, altruism, the coaches and their background. So this is a quote from one of the senseis. They say, "The coaches and their background and what they bring to the program, and respecting what the class and what the students bring, they are there to learn, but over the years I think this has been true for me. I've learned quite a bit from the students. For however long they were in the program, they have taught me different things. It's hard to put into words what that does when you are teaching a child that has severe learning delays, or if you are teaching someone who has teaching delays or is hyperactive, then after maybe a couple of sessions you've noticed marked difference, or you notice marked differences in their actions or how they relate to their students and their family." So as you see here, it's really the children's needs that drive the program, and that the fact that the senseis are willing to learn from the children, which is quite amazing.